What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Word on Woodward presented by Rehmann. Empower your purpose with Rehmann. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday. You guys, I want to remind you to turn on your live notifications so you don't miss a single second of the Word on Woodward. And some big news. If you can't watch the show or you want to catch up on some old interviews that we've done here on the Word on Woodward, you can now catch up with those at the Word on Woodward YouTube channel, or you can listen to the show as a podcast on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcast, or Spotify. Again, that's Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. And there is also a Word on Woodward YouTube page. So make sure you guys are catching those or checking those out just to make sure you're all caught up with everything Word on Woodward. And today throughout the show, whatever platform you're watching on, we want you to drop your comments, questions, thoughts in the comment section, and we'll make sure we look for them and we'll try to get to them later in today's show. We've got a big show planned for you as always. Ken Kal will be joining us shortly, and we've got interviews with former Tiger Andy Dirks, former Red Wing Jason Woolley, MLB.com's Jason Beck, and Tigers pitcher Kyle Funkhauser. So without further ado, everybody, let's get right into it and bring in our co-host, Art Regner. Art, how you doing today?
I am doing well, Daniela. I feel good. I'm invigorated. I can't wait to do the show. I'm excited. Everything's going well, and stayed up too late last night. I've got to be honest. Stayed up till 5 a.m. watching the Americans. But I'm addicted to that show. That show is incredible. I don't know how I never heard about it before. I mean, I sort of heard about it. I can't believe it's as good as it is. I wish they would bring it back.
Well, I hope that you got enough sleep to get through today's show, Art.
Well, barely. Yes. I'm functional. Let's put it that way. So, hey, I've been doing this for years, Daniela. I have been hoodwinking the public forever. So, what's another day?
Perfect. All right, Art, with that being said, let's get into the big three today, presented by Chevrolet. And our first topic of today's big three, we're going to take a look at the Tigers game from last night. It was the home opener for the Tigers, first game at Comerica Park of the season. So let's take a look at what happened. After capturing a series victory in Cincy over the weekend, we're back at Comerica Park, and it was Michael Fulmer on the mound for the first time since September 15th, 2018. The top of the first, he gets the strikeout on Jorge Soler in the slider. Look at that. Great pitch by Fulmer. We saw some glimpses of great things from Fulmer during this game. Now you're taking a look at Jacoby Jones and his 3-run shot in the second inning, and he put the Tigers up 4-1. We're going to take another look at this swing here. Jacoby Jones has been swinging really well through the first 4 games here for the Tigers, and there he goes. Little Selly at the end, and here's another bright spot on the night for the Tigers. This one right here is Victor Reyes, bottom of the 6th, and he's going deep to right, and he cuts the Tigers' deficit to just 4 runs here. Art, I want to talk about this game. Like I said, we saw some bright spots. Michael Fulmer had some solid pitches. We saw a home run out of Jacoby Jones and Victor Reyes that you just saw there. But the final score of the game was 14-6. So the Tigers really had a tough night against Kansas City. What was the root of their problems in last night's game?
Well, I just think that let's be honest, they just didn't get the pitching last night. I think Kyle Funkhauser, who we're going to talk to later in today's show, Bo Burrows. I mean, they make their major league debut. Carson Fulmer, a very highly sought draft pick. When Chicago drafted him, and he came in and didn't look pretty good. Actually, has a real live arm. I really if you look at Michael Fulmer's stat line here, 2 2/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 4 earned runs, and 2 Ks. I kind of think he just ran out of gas. I think we have a tendency to forget that just like you and me, Daniela, these guys are made of flesh and blood and are people and have emotion. And I think Michael Fulmer pitching for the first time in 22 months in a real live game and seeing real live action, I think he was amped up. And I think as the game wore on, he did show flashes. But in that 3rd inning, I know the Tigers wanted him to go through 3. I just think he looked gassed, to be honest with you. He just he gave it everything that he had. he's not completely stretched out. He didn't have any opportunity to throw in any real live games except the inter squad games, down in Florida. He wasn't part of spring training. And I just think Funkhauser and Burrows were, like usual. Kyle Funkhauser has 2 strikes on a guy, and he ends up getting like a 2-run single or whatever. I mean, there were moments for them too. You can see that they have potential and what the Tigers like about them. But when you're in the major leagues, you pay for every mistake. And unfortunately, the Tigers' young pitchers paid for it last night. And let's be honest, Kansas City was due. I mean, they were an angry ball club. I mean, they had scored, I think, 5 runs total against Cleveland in their 3-game series down in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame town there. And so I just think that sometimes I equate last night's game to what Darren McCarty said when he scored the game-winning goal in Game 4 of the '97 playoffs against Philadelphia on a move where shocked everybody. He's, that famous quote, "Even a blind squirrel finds a nut." And this is nothing against Kansas City. They have some really great players. That Whit Merrifield guy is he's the Tiger killer. But even a blind squirrel finds a nut. I just think Kansas City was due last night. And the way the Tigers, use their bullpen, and the bullpen, kind of not coming through. But again, major league debuts and, Fulmer pitching, live action for the first time in 22 months. It was just one of those games. I'm not going to read really too much into it. We'll see what the Tigers can do tonight. And as you said, Victor Reyes, he's been a find. And, Jacoby Jones, no one ever questioned his questioned his defense. He's already, got the highlight of the year as far as, robbing that catch in center field that he made in Cincinnati. And if he can hit for, when they traded for him, when the Tigers got him from Pittsburgh, he was considered to be a top prospect of the Pirates. So Jacoby Jones is a player. The thing is, and what really, can he do it at this level? And when I mean, can he do it? Can he hit? And thus far, he seems to be, especially for a guy who had a bad back, wasn't even supposed to play last night. So, just one of those games. I'm not that, I guess I'm not that concerned about it. I just think that, if Jacoby Jones can continue hitting like this or some facsimile close to that, Tigers are going to be in pretty good shape. And I think the bullpen, and I think Michael Fulmer is only going to get stronger.
Of course, Art, we know that the Tigers will get another crack at the Royals tonight. But before we talk more about that in this show, we're going to go to our second topic of the Big Three, which is a Tigers update for you. We're talking all Tigers today, and we've got Carly Johnston standing by, who has notes on what the guys said after last night's loss. It looks like Carly was just muted there for a second. We're going to go right back to her once we get that situation figured out. As I said, she's going to have all of the notes on what the guys said after last night's game. Oh, she's got it now, it sounds like. So we're going to go back to Carly. Carly?
All right.
I pulled a Danielle and I muted myself.
Hey, we all do it, right?
I know. I'm taking after you. All right. Well, let's get into the clubhouse notes. All right. We're going to talk about last night's game. It wasn't the home opener that anyone wanted to see. From no fans in the stands to the score, Ron Gardenhire and a few players, though, they spoke to the media post-game. And here are some takeaways. We know Michael Fulmer made his return to the mound for the first time in over a year. It's been a long time since he faced live hitting outside of spring training and summer camp. And he started in last night's game. And he was expected to max out at 3 innings, but didn't make it all the way through the third, allowing 4 runs on 5 hits and 1 walk, finishing with 2 strikeouts. So let's hear what he had to say about his performance.
Yeah, not the Cinderella comeback story I was hoping for, but just a little rusty. Obviously, not gonna make any excuses. I feel ready. I told everybody I was ready, and I need to do a better job next time. But it's hard to be angry at that because it did feel good to be out there for the first time in God knows how long. But just finding some stuff I needed to work on and hopefully try again in 5 days.
And speaking of pitchers, the Tigers had a couple making their major league debuts last night. Kyle Funkhauser, who we'll hear from later, and Bo Burrows. I'm sure the game wasn't exactly what they wanted or expected, but at least they got the first game under their belts. And despite the not so hot performance from Fulmer, Gardy has faith that he will improve and keep him as an opener all season long. So let's hear what Gardy had to say about Fulmer.
Yeah, he threw ball a couple of good innings. Ball was coming out really good, and whether he got a little worn out or whatever, this is what you're probably going to see. He's going to have some of those innings until we can get everything, stretched out a little bit. And we're probably going to stay with this program, and hopefully he gets through these 3 innings. He just got a little roughed up there at the end, but he made some really good pitches the first couple of innings, a slider.
So a lot of room for improvement across the team, as we saw last night. But remember, the Tigers lost the first game of the series against the Reds, then turned it around to win the next 2 and get a series win. So hopefully they can repeat that success as they continue the series against the Royals tonight and tomorrow. Back to you, Daniela.
Love the optimism, Carly. And I really like the optimism out of Gardy too. We have high hopes for Michael Fulmer, let's be honest, but he did just come off of 2 years without starting, almost 2 years, and Tommy John surgery. He's had 2 surgeries actually. So it was a solid start for his first start back on the mound. And I liked Gardy's optimism on how he's going to progress throughout the season. Thank you so much, Carly. And we will have you back later in the show. You guys make sure you are commenting, sending in your questions. Carly's going to be looking all over the social media channels. So we'll get to them later in the show if we can. Thanks again, Carly, and we'll see you soon.
See you guys soon.
All right, Art, let's get into our third topic of the big 3 for today. Remembering Al Kaline. The Tigers and Fox Sports Detroit did an amazing job last night and paying tribute to Mr. Tiger. There was a great video where we heard from some former Tigers, some current Tigers, and even Gardy. And of course, they raised the flag out in center field and it had Kaline's name across it. It was just great to see. Like I said, great job by the Tigers organization and Fox Sports Detroit. All around a great tribute.
Yeah, without question. I mean, really brought back some memories, seeing, Al and, looking at the, just the tradition of the club, really, how the uniform, home uniform really hasn't changed much over the years. I mean, what can you say about Mr. Tiger? I think you could tell. I think the Royals were touched by it. The statue out there in the outfield. It was really, I guess there's nothing good about COVID-19 at all. We know that. But the thing that, is that this ceremony was done as well as could possibly be without fans in the stands, without the people that Al entertained for 22 seasons in the Tiger uniform, that, they couldn't give their last, salute and hurrah for him. That was kind of upsetting. Yet, the overall tribute I thought was moving and was, the tears were welling up in my eyes when they put that flag up there and you see Kaline, and then to top it off with Jose Feliciano, whom, sang at the time in 1968 that, it's now an iconic performance. It's in the Baseball Hall of Fame, his performance from 1968. That did not go over well in 1968. It was the first time that it was an acoustic version. He kind of jazzed it and bluesed it up a little bit. I can remember him taking a lot of heat, Feliciano, and Al Kaline and Ernie Harwell, who had invited him there. Ernie, as we know, was a songwriter himself. They defended him. The Tigers came to his defense, and obviously, quite a friendship was forged from that between Al Kaline and Jose Feliciano. But to top it off with Jose Feliciano, and then him saying, I love you, Al Kaline, then him having that Tigers jersey on, which I don't know for a fact, but I would imagine maybe number 6 was on the back of the jersey Feliciano was wearing. I thought it was a wonderful job. The Tigers get it. They do it right from all the little fan things that they do. I really, got to tip my cap to them. Fox Sports Detroit. I'm sure that they helped out in the 3.5-minute tribute video. So it was just, the game wasn't great, but the ceremony was fantastic, if that makes sense. And Mr. Tiger is going to be remembered for a long, long, long time, rightly so. And just a class act and a real class tribute. And I really, I think the patch is a real nice touch. And the thing that I like about the patch is going to be kind of weird is I like the size of it. Sometimes you'll see it; it'll be a little smaller. I mean, this is a big 6. If a fan that's not aware might think, well, why are all the Tigers wearing number 6? Because it looks like it's almost part of the uniform. I mean, it is. Obviously, it's a patch, but I mean, it really stands out. That 6 stands out on the home and on the away uniform. So, well done again, Tigers. We're going to miss Al, but we're certainly not going to forget him.
A big patch art for somebody that made a huge impact on the organization. And as you said, we'll remember Al Kaline every single time we see the number 6 on one of the players' jerseys. So, like you said, great job by the Tigers, and he will definitely be remembered not only this season, but forever in the Detroit Tigers organization. You guys, that wraps up our Big 3 for today. A big thank you to Chevy for presenting the Big 3. Chevy Clean dealers are committed to using enhanced vehicle cleaning measures with CDC-approved cleansers, so when you're ready, you can find new roads with confidence. Now, you guys, we're going to get into our mailbag segment delivered to you guys by Little Caesars. And today's guest for the mailbag is Ken Kal. Last time we had Ken Kal on the show, he was in a Hawaiian shirt. So I'm not sure what he's wearing. I'm going to find out in just a second here. Ken, what do you got on today? You shirt and tie? You Hawaiian? Oh, shirt and tie.
Well, here's what happened. I put that in. I think it just damaged my internet controls and lost the picture because of all the colors, I guess. But so I went back to the business attire today, and hopefully we got some good questions in the mailbag. Can't wait.
We do. Ken, I actually made that joke that you broke the internet. You've heard that term before, how someone can break the internet by posting a photo or something. You put that Hawaiian shirt on and you broke it.
Well, you know what? I was too comfortable, I think. I got to wear a shirt and a tie and, be a little more professional than trying to be out on the lake or something like that. But, it's always good to be back on. It's good to have Tiger baseball back. I watched all 4 games now. So, I've liked what I've seen so far. I'd like to see the runs get down a little bit. But for the most part, they're 2-2. And I think if you're 500 or a little bit above 500, you got a good chance of making the playoffs this year. So they just got to keep rolling.
Agree with you there, Ken. And did you get a chance to see the Al Kaline tribute that we were just talking about? What a great job they did with that.
Yeah, I did. And, it's hard to believe that he's not around, because when you think of opening day at Comerica Park over the years, or even back stadium, old number 6 was always around. And I know when I filled in for Dan Dickerson a couple of times, he'd always come by the booth, and we'd talk about some old he was involved in. And the story I always liked about Al was, he told me he was a young kid. He was 18 years old.
Man, Ken's presence is just breaking the internet. Art, we're going to get to the mailbag questions, and I'm going to go to your first question, which is actually question 2. We'll save Ken's for a minute here. But Noah from Garden City asks, who do you think looked the best from the Tigers bullpen? So we're going to take a look at this one over the weekend. This question was actually submitted before last night's game. So excluding last night's game, Art, who was the best out of the bullpen?
Well, I think without question it was Gregory Soto. I thought that he was really impressive. He appeared in 2 games. He pitched 2/3 of an inning in the first game for the Tigers, didn't give up a run, struck out a batter. And then in Sunday's game, he was absolutely lights out. He pitched, 2 innings in that game. He struck out 4 guys. He's a big strapping left-hander. So I think if you look at it as a whole, the Tigers bullpen didn't do bad. And when you look at it, I think Soto had 5 of those 10 strikeouts were from Gregory Soto. So a left-hander, a lot of potential, a lot of velocity. Throwing that ball in the high 90s. So I would say without question, the whole bullpen was pretty impressive. I know David McKay had some troubles. But aside from that, Soto obviously is the guy, and if they can get a left-hander to come out there and eat up some innings and be that bridge to Buck Farmer and to Joe Jimenez, that is quite a find, especially being left-handed. So Gregory Soto, so far, young man, I tip my cap to you.
All right, Art, I like it. Now we've got a hockey question for you. The first time we're going to mention the Red Wings on today's show, but we're going to talk about Dylan Larkin for this one. And this is, which of these Larkin goals is the best? And this is Larkin's very first goal. So we'll take a look back at this one. Oh, he was so excited after that one. That's a good goal, and definitely against the Maple Leafs too, Art. I know you really do like that one, but we're going to have to take a look at the second one, which is actually his 100th goal, which just happened last season, or I guess I could say this season at Little Caesars Arena, out of the box against Florida, and he buries the breakaway. I have a feeling I know what your answer is going to be to this one, Art, but which one of these is better?
Both of them obviously are great. He's utilizing his speed, but and a breakaway is tough to get. You think, well, he's breaking in. He has all the advantages, and but it's got to be his first goal. That's one I like. The first goal that he scored as a Red Wing. I mean, I remember no sooner was I sitting down and about to relax, and Dylan Larkin, I believe he scored a couple of goals in that game. And, it was a harbinger of good things to come in Dylan's career. Being in Detroit, I remember his parents were there, and, obviously because they live here, and, they were all happy. I mean, it couldn't have been better. And I think it utilized, he's playing wing that game, but it utilized exactly what type of player he was going to become. I mean, he gets that puck, he scores the goal. He goes through, just fires it, picks his spot, and boom, And I believe the goaltender in net was a guy named John Bernier, if I'm correct about that, or as we know him here in Detroit, Jonathan Bernier. I mean, that's a great goal too. He's got great moves. The thing about Dylan is that he's such an effortless skater, as you can see here. He can just go in and he can change on a dime. He can change directions, and I think you saw that on that second goal, which was good. But that first goal of his career, a native Detroiter, obviously played at the University of Michigan, was in the development program, and it was still in Ann Arbor, really tight with Jack Eichel. They were a dynamic duo for Team USA in the development program, the U17 and U18 program, and then for him to score, against the Leafs, and who ends up being now a good buddy of his, Jonathan Bernier. I don't think it gets much better than that.
Art, you're always an encyclopedia of information, but when it comes to Dylan Larkin, you have so much. He's your guy. I know it.
Well, the thing I like about Dylan more than anything is that he's a lot like me. He's a huge Michigan fan. So he'll always pull me aside and ask me, "Hey, what do you think about Michigan, or what's going on with Michigan?" And I've got a real his dad, Kevin Larkin, is a great. We just lost Ken again. He'll be back. Trust me. He's just playing with us. That Cal wants all the attention. But Dylan was going to go. Had a couple of recruiting trips when he was still playing for the development program in Ann Arbor, and his dad. Larkin, they're Irish, and Dylan's grandfather, Kevin's dad, is a big Notre Dame fan. And so Dylan had some recruiting trips to Michigan State, Michigan on one weekend, and then the following weekend it was going to be Notre Dame. And so they go to Michigan State, have a great time. He's impressed with it. He likes Michigan State, nothing against the Spartans. Then the next night he's in Ann Arbor, and he's at the Michigan game, and they play that I call it the Blues Brothers scene, that da 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 da. The whole crowd goes and they're clapping. As a matter of fact, Dylan led them in that this year when he went to a Michigan game. He was in the student section. We played it. Everybody saw it. And so when they're driving home, Kevin can sense that Dylan's got that Michigan fever really, really going. He's really into it. And so, and he's watching on his phone. He's watching the stands play that dun, 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 dun. And so Kevin figures, well, I got to start talking about next week's trip to Notre Dame. And I wish Kevin Larkin were here. We should get him on. He's a great guy. And Kevin says he's trying to say, well, next week we're going to Notre Dame. We're doing this, and hey, we got another school to look at, and it's Notre Dame, and and trying to say the accolades about the Fighting Irish. And Dylan is staring at his phone. He looks up at his dad. And he goes, "Dad, I'm going to Michigan." And that was it. That they didn't go to Notre Dame the next weekend. I mean, Dylan committed right away. So obviously, when Kevin told me that story, and Dylan was really elevated anyway up there for me. But when Kevin told me that, I figured, God, this is my guy. It doesn't get much better than that. And then you have Luke Glendenning, who was a Michigan captain for 2 years and an alternate captain for a year. So, but then again, just an abdicator. I mean, the Michigan Red Wings, all of them, Danny DeKaiser, the guys that are from our state, and I know Carly knows this. I know you know it, Daniela. They're kind of special, just because they're from here. You have a good rapport with them. We all kind of have the same reference points. So that's what I love. Hopefully now Cal is back and everything will work. and it'll be great. I've got a quick Al Kaline story before we lose Ken again. Remember Jim Whalewander was a big fan. He was an odd player, a big fan of the Dead Milkmen. And it was in between innings one day, and Al, I guess, was doing the game back then. I still think he was broadcasting. And maybe he wasn't. He could have been a Tiger official at that point. I remember in between innings, I was going to get a Coke or something, get some pop or water or whatever. And Al goes, "Hey, Art," he goes, "let me ask you something." And I said, "Yeah, Al." And he goes, "What's a dead milkman? Is that what is that? Am I missing something there?" I go, "No." I go, it's the name of like a new wave band, the Dead Milkmen, and Whale Wanderer likes it. He goes, "So it's not the Dead Milkman there isn't any significance to a dead milkman." And that's exactly what he said. I said, "No, Al." I go, "It's just the name of a group. There's nothing behind it." He goes, "Okay." He goes, "I just thought maybe there was a story that maybe, Jim's dad was a milkman, or I don't know. He was obsessed with milk. Why a Dead Milkman? He was really into that name." I said, "Don't worry about it, Al. I wouldn't even bring it up. Just go back and, do the broadcast or just have fun." But I can always remember he looked around and he was like, "Art, what's a dead milkman?" I just thought it was kind of funny, I mean, because he wanted to know about Whale Wander. He wanted to know this, because Whale Wander was a Tiger, and he wanted to have some information and background, and and to maybe even strike up a conversation about, hey, when I was a kid growing up in Baltimore, I had a fascination with milk too, Jim. Who knows? I have no idea, but when he asked me that, I always thought that was kind of funny.
Believe it or not, you guys, Art's original question was, which Dylan Larkin goal did we like better? The one thing that I do want to remind you guys is that you can check out the Red Wings social media channels and you can vote for this too. So we want to hear your opinions, and we will reveal the results later in the show. So Ken, here is Dylan Larkin's first goal against Toronto. So the question for you is, do you like that one better? First goal against Toronto, great goal, great Sully. He was excited. The Joe was rocking. And then we have his 100th goal, which was at Little Caesars Arena this season against Florida. I'm sure you remember it, coming out of the box. Boom, breakaway finish. What one's better?
Well, I like Dylan Larkin's first goal just because I think it was a better shot. And I know he was kind of cherry picking out of the box right there. And the man who made the play was Darren Helm, who got him the pass over to the blue line, and he made a nice move to score. But that first goal was great because there were a lot of high expectations for Dylan Larkin coming into that game against the Maple Leafs, and where he shot the puck from the bottom of the circle, he went over the shoulder of Bernier to score the goal. So I really like the first goal better than the 100th goal, but they all count. They're all good, and I expect a lot of good things from Larkin the rest of his career with the Detroit Red Wings.
Again, you guys, you can vote for which goal you like better on the Detroit Red Wings Twitter account. And later in the week, make sure you're following the Red Wings social media because they're going to do a special giveaway in honor of Dylan Larkin's birthday. So a lot to follow on there, and go cast your vote so we can reveal those results later in the show. Now we're going to move on to the last question of the mailbag. And Ken, I'm going to have you answer this one first. Carly from Royal Oak asks, what was more impressive last weekend? CJ Crone or 2 comeback wins? What do you think, Ken?
You know, I was on Twitter after they lost the first game, and I tweeted out something. I said, well, the 68 Tigers lost their opener and then went on to win, I don't know how many in a row, 8 or 9 in a row. And I said, there are better days ahead for this Tiger team. And, you know, I was starting to shake my head a little bit, but late in both of those games, they've got big hits, big plays, good catches. And, you know, I just think that, you know, Crone was great as far as his hitting goes, but, you know, you're seeing, you know, a home run right there. And it was just a terrific effort, I think, in the late innings, and successful teams find ways to win. And I always mention that 68 Tiger team where, I don't know, they won like 40 or 50 games from the 7th inning on. And if the Tigers can continue to just battle and stay in there and get the pitching they need, then they're going to be in a lot of those games. So I really like the fact that they played a good team in Cincinnati. They were on the road, found a way to come back and win in the late innings. So that impresses me more.
All right, Art, what do you think? Is it CJ Crone or the comeback wins?
Well, last week I did predict that CJ Crone would hit a home run in the Tiger opener, which he did. I think he's a fine. I think, you know, I know he had a little bit of a rough night last night, going 0 for 4, I believe. But I really like CJ Crone. I think he's a wonderful addition. I wouldn't be surprised if he continues hitting at this pace and get, you know, hitting the bombs like he's been doing, that maybe the Tigers, he's here for more than a year. I don't know. I mean, I'm just, I guess now I'm being Al Avila. That's what I would do. With all that said, though, you've got to like the comeback wins. The Tigers, I think, struck out like 48 times in that series against Cincinnati, which is an astounding amount of strikeouts, yet they found a way to win. And that's what good teams do. And I agree with Kenny here. The 68 Tigers were known as the comeback kids. They really were. I don't know if it was quite 40 games. I thought for some reason the number 27 from the 7th inning on, where they were either tied or behind, they won ball games at. And then in the 68 World Series, they were down 3-1, and they ended up winning. Mickey Lolich beating in St. Louis, beating Bob Gibson, who had struck out 17 Tigers in the first game, which I think at the time was a World Series record. I mean, that was incredible. I mean, Bob Gibson, great pitcher. I mean, Bob Gibson was a great pitcher. My dad used to do traveling back then and would go to ball games and with his job. And, I don't know if this is true or not, but he came back from St. Louis with a Cardinals cap for me. And he said that he went to game and met Bob Gibson and gave it to me. And, the cap was worn because the bill of it underneath had sweat. And so he goes, that's Bob Gibson's sweat, Arthur. And so the first game of the 68 World Series, like an idiot, I wore that St. Louis baseball cap to school, elementary school, where kids are unforgiving. All recess, I ran my tail off because kids were chasing me because I had that St. Louis cap on. I mean, I wanted the Tigers to win, but without a doubt, I don't know. I did strange things back then. I've grown out of that. But with that said, I love the comeback wins. Big home runs, key moments. Miguel Cabrera's 10-pitch at bat. I mean, there were a lot of good things that happened in those comeback wins. And Ken's right. That's what good teams do. They find ways to win. I mean, when you're striking out 13 times a game as a team, you're thinking to yourself from a fan, oh my gosh, we're not going to win this game. We can't even get on base. But I'll tell you who's also smiling is Earl Weaver, the manager of the old Baltimore Orioles. Because Earl Weaver's best offense was a 3-run homer, and that's all. Just bombs away. He Boog Powell and Frank Robinson and Brooks Robinson and everybody but Mark Belanger, their shortstop, who was like the Ray Oyler of the Orioles. But I'll just say that what I really thought was, is great is that they found a way to win. They hit some home runs. Power was a big issue for this team last year. So that was encouraging.
You guys, I'm actually getting some news here that new member of the ownership team for the Kansas City Royals is actually Kansas City Chief Patrick Mahomes.
Really?
Are you serious?
Yeah, I am serious.
Well, you know what's
I mean,
interesting
that new
about Patrick Mahomes?
you can afford it.
Well, you know what's interesting? You know, Patrick Mahomes was drafted by the Tigers. Patrick
Yeah.
Mahomes was drafted by Detroit. So who knows? Maybe he'll throw out the first pitch tonight. You know, maybe let's invite him as a show of good faith because he might be partial owner of the Royals, but deep down he's a Tiger. That's the team that drafted him. You know, screw the Chiefs and winning a Super Bowl and all that. I mean, that guy's Patrick Mahomes. Welcome home. Welcome to the Old English D where you rightfully belong, my friend.
What do you think, Ken?
You know what? The guy's got a lot of money now. He can buy whatever he wants. And if he wants to have ownership in the Kansas City Royals, hey, why not go for it, right? He's going to own all of Kansas City before it's all said and done. So, yeah, good for him. And it's good for the Kansas City Royals, you know, and you know, they're not really a big market team, but, you know, they've had their successes over the last several years, and they even won a World Series. And, you know, so all the best to them. But hopefully the Tigers can bounce back today and get a win and hopefully win the series. And that's the key. The key is, as we were talking about in baseball, finding ways to stay close, winning those tight games, finding ways to win. The other thing I liked about the Tigers too, Daniela and Art, is that they're taking the extra base. They're smart on the base paths. I think in the last couple of years, they made some mistakes in that regard, but I like the aggressiveness on the base paths. And also, you know, if the pitching can come through a little bit better, you know, they've got a pretty good chance, I think. So they're just going to hang in there and we'll see what happens.
Well, you know,
Ken,
I mean,
right.
Ken's right. I mean, I'm sorry, Danielle.
Go ahead,
It was a 14-6 ball game last night. You know, home opener. Okay, you know, throw that game away. You know, flush it. Flush it, as Hank Zetterberg used to say. Just flush that one. Okay, so you know, flush that one out. But I think we've seen early on they're a better team than last year. You know, they can hit for power. Their fielding is much better. That was a big double play to end the game on Sunday. You know, Soto looks like a pretty good pitcher. Joe Jimenez pitched himself out of a jam. I mean, you can see a semblance of a baseball team that is on the verge of ascending up the standings. Whether it happens this year or not, let's be honest, I don't know. It's a 60-game season. You know, hopefully COVID-19 doesn't shut everything down, and you know, and baseball really does have a good plan, and we'll see about that. But I mean, but the overall scope, the overall picture, I think you have to like what you see. You know, there's still. I wish they would take more pitches. You know, they still strike out a lot, but you know. But you know that's baseball, right? I mean, you know, the pitcher's trying to get them out, and you know, and the Tigers, you know, I don't think they've seen a pitch they haven't liked. I mean, you could be throwing it at, you know, like, you know, 40 feet, you know, above the plate, and the guy's going to bat it like he's a tennis player or something. I mean, they're definitely free swingers, but but you know, a little more plate discipline. I think that's the only criticism that I have. But then again, you know, there were a lot of good things, and we'll see what happens tonight. And Ken's right. You know, this is a 4-game series. This is the beginning, or last night was of a 9-game homestand. Yeah, if the Tigers are going to make noise, what have we heard? What have we been saying for weeks now? They've got to get out of the gate fast, right? They've got to start winning games. Well, taking 2 out of 3 in Cincinnati, I think, stunned all of us. We were a little bit surprising, let's be honest. Now you have a 9-game homestand where Cincinnati comes back, St. Louis, and then 4 with the Royals, who were an angry ball club last night. You know, they were the blind squirrel that found the nut, as I like to say, last night's game, you know, and that Whit Merrifield guy. I mean, can the Tigers trade for him? I mean, you know, that's the only way they're going to stop him from hitting 500 against them is like if he's actually on their team. But you know, again, I mean, hey, this is a good opportunity for the Tigers. They've got 8 games here, 3 more with Kansas City. Kansas City, as we're going to talk about a little bit later, their pitching and bullpen are all over the road here. So this is a good opportunity for the Tigers. I'm pretty excited.
All right, you're stealing all the thunder. I know you're amped up. We're all excited about the Tigers. They're 2-2, but we've got a whole show to talk about them. So you guys, that's going to wrap it up
It's
for
the
today's
coffee.
mailbag. Art, put that coffee down. Put the coffee down. Ken, thank you so much for joining us. And a big thank you to Little Caesars for delivering the mailbag right here on the Word on Woodward. Little Caesars proudly introduces their hot and ready pepperoni cheeser. You get a large pizza topped with classic pepperoni, fresh mozzarella, and a toasted Parmesan and Asiago cheese crust for just $7. Try our no contact pizza portal or delivery from Little Caesars. You guys, as I mentioned, we've got a lot of Tiger stuff coming up in today's show. Jason Beck is going to join us a little bit later. Art is going to talk to Kyle Funkhauser, who made his MLB debut last night. But right now, we're going to catch up with Carly, who was with Andy Dirks yesterday before the Tigers' opening day.
That's right. It's time for Catching Up with Carly, presented by Meyer. And now I'm joined by former Tigers outfielder Andy Dirks. How's it going, Andy?
It's going great. How are you doing today?
Very good. Very good. How have you felt seeing live baseball again?
You know, I haven't watched the full live games due to all the kids that I now have, but seeing the recaps and just talking baseball, thinking baseball, knowing things are happening, knowing that the Tigers are playing, it's kind of like it's very refreshing. It's refreshing to see some things happening that are positive, fun, exciting, the community to talk about other than masks and all those other things, right?
100%. I've definitely missed live sports. Well, let's dive right into this past weekend for the Tigers. They went 2-1 against the Reds, the Cincinnati Reds, for their first series win of the season, which is really exciting to start off with this 60-game stretch on a good foot. Andy, what do you think you saw from the team this weekend? I mean, what is your assessment of the team?
Well, obviously with 3 games, it's pretty early to tell the full story, but going to Cincinnati, they faced some very good pitching. We knew that, that their starters are very, very good in Cincinnati, and they have a very good ball club. So we didn't really know what to expect. I know day one, it went the best it could have for the Tigers. The games were close. Cincinnati wasn't able to score a lot of runs, which is good because in this ball club that we have in Detroit, we're not a high run producing team. So we have to pitch and play defense very well. And they did that. They had their blips here and there, which are to be expected early on. The first game, you're getting the jitters out. There's a lot of excitement, especially with this condensed season. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And all of a sudden, here they are playing with cardboard cutouts in the background, and it's weird. And what's going on? And but overall, I think the series taking 2 out of 3 in Cincinnati was huge. A great way to start. Now, obviously, 3 games doesn't define a baseball team. 2 games, 2 wins doesn't define a baseball team. But it's good to start off on a positive note to see these guys playing pretty good baseball already.
Okay, there are a few players I want to highlight. So I'm going to give you their names. Then I want you to give me an assessment of their play over the weekend, things they did right, maybe things that they need to improve on, etc. All right, so first up, we have pitcher Matt Boyd.
Yeah, so, Matt's a great pitcher. We know what he's capable of. Every starting pitcher will have a blip from time to time. His just happened to be opening day. Sometimes the mechanics aren't feeling good. Things just aren't going right. And, he struggled finding the zone. We know what he's capable of doing. I'm not freaked out about him at all. It's not like, whoa, what's going on here? He knows what he needs to do to make adjustments moving forward. He even admitted, I didn't make adjustments like I should have. Now, some of that, you can blame things on lengthy layovers, but at the end of the day, when you're a professional athlete, you don't get excuses. You need to perform. So Matt will have a chance in his next outing to show, hey, I'm a legit pitcher. Every great pitcher has had bad days. Every good pitcher has bad days. But I'll have more good days than bad days overall. That's what we're looking for out of Boyd. I'm not concerned at all. Now, if he comes out in the next 3 outings and is really struggling, then there's some reason for concern. But one outing like that, given the circumstances and everything, he's going to analyze what happened, make his adjustments, and say, okay, this is what I need to do moving forward.
Room for improvement. I dig it. All right. Now, how about Jacoby Jones?
Well, Jacoby, as usual, is a great athlete, right? Offensively, he's been streaky. We know that about him. But we do know that when he's playing good defense, it seems like the rest of his game, for whatever reason, is on point. And that's, some things that I like about him. I think as he grows in maturity, to become a little more consistent would be great, right? And that's what every baseball player is striving for, is that consistent play that, I don't get in huge slumps, but and when I'm productive, I'm just always helping the team find a way to help the team win games, whether it's base running, defense, hitting. And he's that kind of player that he can have a massive impact on a baseball game. You saw that great play he made in center field the last game. Those are the type of things he's capable of. And I think, with him, it's always, well, how long is the stretch going to last when he's playing well? How long is the stretch going to last when he's not playing as well? If he can figure out when things are going good to just let them be good and not get freaked out if a few things start falling apart, he drops a ball or he strikes out 4 times or he's over his last 10. If he can figure out that I am good and I can help the team win in other ways and sees the importance of his overall game, he's a great asset to have on the field.
Great assessment. I love to hear that. All right, now I can't help but bring up CJ Cron, who just had a great series. Someone I'm excited to watch this season. What is your assessment of his play?
I love guys that can hit homers, but I never was a home run hitter. But what I really liked was the last game. He struggled with the fastball up in the zone. He struck out a couple times, wasn't having great plate appearances early in the game, but then still had the confidence in that last at bat to put the Tigers on top with the home run to right field. He didn't let those other strikeouts affect the crunch time play, which that speaks volumes of a player when they're struggling at the plate early in the game. Now the game's on the line, and the guy threw him a fastball again, and he had struggled with the fastball earlier in the game. So of course they're going to throw him the heater. This one, they left it over the plate a little more. It wasn't quite as elevated. And he did an amazing job just staying relaxed, not trying to do too much. Because previously, usually when you strike out, right, or you're having a rough day at the plate, your natural instinct is to try to overcompensate and do more. But that shows some of his maturity. And some of the seasons this guy's had prior to, just with 400 at-bats, 300 at-bats, he's put up really, really, really good numbers. So I hope, this is a short and condensed season, but I think if he gets full playing, he knows he's going to be in the starting lineup. He knows he's going to be playing every day. That confidence boost to continue on this season, to help us win a World Series this season, right? And then to help in future seasons as well. But I think this season it'll be fun to watch him. He's a great addition.
I couldn't agree more. Okay, and how impactful do you think this first series win is for the Tigers? And do you think they'll be able to keep that momentum going and maybe end up in that playoff push position?
If there's a chance for the Tigers to make a playoff, it's a 60-game short and condensed season. We all know that. With the talent that we have, some of these guys will play above their ability level, which is what we want. You always want people that are playing to play higher than what their natural ability will allow them. And if these guys, enough of them can do that and say, hey, I'm going to take my game from here where everybody thinks I am, and I'm going to come up just a little bit, and everybody on the team just starts creeping up. That's when you can create a really good ball club. I think that winning the first couple at least will give them confidence that, hey, we're an actual contender and we're a ball team. We're not just the ragtag Tigers that everybody's been labeling them as for the last 5 years and saying, well, this is a bunch of misfits. I don't like those words, and I've used them in the past, but now I'm like, they're baseball players. These guys are out there to play baseball. They're out there to win ball games. And we need to quit saying they're just a bunch of, misfits, because the way they played didn't look like misfits to me. They played good, sound baseball overall. So that's what I'm excited about, is seeing them as a team. If each individual guy just keeps getting a little better and a little better, we're going to have a squad by the end of this 60 games.
I think it's the Tigers' year. Okay, now looking into the series against the Kansas City Royals, what kind of threats do the Royals pose to the Tigers?
To be honest, I don't know with all this stuff. With all that's been going on, the Royals have been not good as of late. But that doesn't mean that, hey, just because we beat the Reds, we're going to beat the Royals too. Because in Major League Baseball, every team's got good players. And all it takes is one guy being on his game, starting pitcher to shut you down, one hitter to have a hot day and drive in 5 runs. There's so many variables in baseball that even though the Royals aren't great, the Tigers aren't supposed to be great either. So it's kind of like the battle of the bottom of the barrel. But I wouldn't look at it like that if I was the Tigers. I'd look at it as we are the team to beat now, because we're in first place in the AL, tied for first place. We are the team to beat, and carry that kind of attitude into Kansas City to say we're not equal. We're not on the same playing field. We're here to dominate you. We're like the Yankees in the 90s. They can carry that kind of little swagger, little attitude going in there, as opposed to, oh, it's the battle of the bottom of the barrel, right? I don't like that attitude. And what'll happen is, you know how we were talking about those increases in play. Let me get them lined up here. There you go. What'll happen is you go to a team that's supposed to not be as good, because Cincinnati's supposed to be good. You go to Kansas City, they're not supposed to be as good. So what you do is you kind of you automatically fall into this, which they can't do. They need to keep going, up and up and up. So it's a big series, and like I said, it's so early on. It's hard to see who's got what and who's going to be playing well right off the bat, because some of the veteran players won't play well, for the first 2 months traditionally, and then they catch fire and watch out. So we'll see. It's an interesting situation. I'm excited. It's kind of fun. It's new. It's fresh. It's something different than we've ever seen.
It's a sprint. It's not a marathon this season, which is something vastly different than we've ever experienced before. All right. And finally, I want to know, what is one thing you miss the most about not attending the home opener? I mean, unfortunately, no fans in the stands, so we weren't able to be there. But What is one thing you miss the most?
The smell, the atmosphere, the fans getting rowdy and being excited. I don't miss the cold weather, because traditionally home openers in Detroit are freezing. So it's nice to have good weather, but I think it, this could have been really huge. I know that with the lockdown, it's not going to be what we were hoping for, but it's better than nothing. The restaurants down there, I think, are providing some kind of outdoor spaces and entertaining, but it's not going to be the mass crowds. You're not going to have 80 to 100,000 people in downtown Detroit, 50, 60,000, whatever, down there. But there'll be a lot of people plugged in. And I think for the players, one of the greatest rushes is running out when they announce your name to the home crowd and everybody cheers to a packed stadium. And home openers always packed, right? And it's like, ooh, that adrenaline rush and the butterflies and I'm floating out here as I'm running onto the field. They're not going to have that. But I think it plays well to a younger team that maybe doesn't have as much experience dealing with those emotional highs. Compared to some of the veteran squads. So it's kind of sad that they won't get to experience that, but at the same time, I think it plays to our advantage. So guys don't have to worry about the noise, the crowd noise, the booing, the jeering, the all the stuff that goes with it, and they can just focus on playing baseball.
Well, I love it. I'm happy baseball is back. I feel blessed to just have live baseball, even though I'm watching it from home. But Andy, I wanted to thank you so much for taking the time to be on Catching Up with Carly, presented by Meijer. It's been so nice talking with you, talking baseball. I hope you take care and hope to see you soon at a ballpark.
Absolutely. Sounds good. Enjoy the rest of your summer and go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Thank you, Carly and Andy. Great to hear from him. And I loved everything he had to say about the Tigers. Carly, we're going to bring you back because it's time for Bet You Didn't Know, presented by Motor City Casino Hotel. And you are leading the reins on this one, Carly. So I'm going to let you go ahead and take it over.
Awesome. Okay, I know we've been talking about this pretty much all stream long. The Tigers are continuing their series against the Kansas City Royals tonight. So let's talk about that team. First, Art, can you run us through the Royals bullpen? Who are the starters? What's it looking like over there?
Well, I'll tell you what, the problem is that no one really knows what's going on with the Kansas City bullpen. They finally named a starter for tonight's game in Kyle Zimmer. He is the fifth starter. So Kansas City has taken a hit with their starting pitcher. A couple of their guys went down with COVID-19, so they had. And there is a point to this. They had to play a bullpen game against Cleveland on Sunday where they used 8 pitchers. And I think that from a Tigers standpoint, what you really want to see tonight is you want to see the Tigers work the count, as we talked about earlier, against Kyle Zimmer. They want to, get, foul a lot of pitches off. If you look at their starting pitchers and the relief pitchers, because of that bullpen game, the bullpen, their ERA 4.52, 8 earned runs, 12 base on balls, 2 guys hit by pitches. They've used 14 pitchers. They used 6 last night. They used 8 the game before. The bullpen is eating up more innings than their starting pitcher. And, baseball has a really interesting rule now that any starter or reliever must face a minimum of 3 batters or until the inning ends. So I think what you're going to see is that regardless of who's in the bullpen, like a guy like Nico Goodrum, who hits 321 against lefty hitters, I think Ron Gardenhire is going to kind of look at it and say, well, this guy's got to throw to 3 batters. I can kind of, before you could, how many times have we seen a relief pitcher come in and pitch to one guy and then they go back to their bullpen, like a left-handed specialist to get a lefty out? That can't happen now because he's got to pitch at least 3 batters, unless, of course, it's the second, there's 2 outs and the inning ends. Okay, I guess you could do it that way. But what I would look forward today is to see how the Tigers approach their at-bats against a Kansas City bullpen that is in a bit of disarray. And, another guy, Christian Stewart. Christian Stewart hits for power against right-handed hitters. So can you look at it if you're Gardenhire and say, okay, they got a righty in here now. Let's get Christian Stewart in here. He's going to have to face Christian Stewart. So I think that's really the crux. I mean, at one time when Kansas City was a championship and elite level team, they had a lights out bullpen. They were lights out. I mean, they're automatic saves practically. But today, they're going through a transition, as Andy Dirk said. They haven't been a great team lately, and I think what you're seeing now, especially with a couple of starters, Brad Kelly and Jacob Eunice, I believe, were the 2 guys that went down with COVID-19 concerns. So that really threw their starters in a quandary because they don't have a 5th starter. They just named Kyle Zimmer just minutes ago. So I think that's the key to watch, is how the Tigers approach their at-bats to get to that bullpen, especially with the 3 batter rule, where they have to face 3 batters or have to finish an inning. So I think that's really the key. What we should be looking for is that you want to get to the bullpen, but the only way you're going to get to the bullpen and have a bullpen game where they used 8 guys and 6 last night, although their starter or one of their bullpen guys, a guy who was making his major league debut too, Foster Griffin, he went down with like a forearm strain and had to leave the game. So maybe Kansas City wouldn't have used 6 pitchers last night, but they used 6 and 8. I think that's the key. Tigers got to work that count tonight, get Zimmer's pitch count up there, so he has to leave the game, make it a bullpen game, and then take advantage of the 3-hitter rule. I think that's really what is the key to getting to the Kansas City bullpen, and that's what their bullpen's about. I mean, it's not a good situation. You have a lot of arms out there, and the Tigers have a lot of arms out there too. In their bullpen, but the way the rules are right now, it's you've got to be patient at the plate. That's what I talked about earlier with Ken Kal, is that you got to take some pitches, you got to work the count, you got to foul some things off, get that pitch count out, because you want to get into the bullpen, especially Kansas City's.
Very interesting. Looking forward to seeing what Ron Gardenhire will do with that batting lineup tonight. And then, okay, Daniela, someone else I want to talk to you about, pitcher Danny Duffy. What do you know about him?
All right, Carly. Well, we don't know who the Tigers are going to put in as their starting pitcher for tonight, but we do know that tomorrow it's going to be Matt Boyd, and he is going to be facing off against Kansas City's ace, Danny Duffy, as you said. Now, neither of these pitchers got off to the start that they wanted to for their first start of the season, but we have to give Boyd a nod in this particular matchup. And of the 2 that will get back on track tomorrow. Boyd was 2-2 against the Royals with an even 6 ERA last season, but he has won his last 2 against Kansas City. But let's look at the other side at Danny Duffy. You're looking at his numbers right here. And he's been pretty good against the Tigers as well. His ERA is a 4.59 in 27 games pitched against the Tigers. And one thing to note about the Tigers is that their additions, which we've talked about a lot, Andy Dirks mentioned it, that CJ Cron and Jonathan Scope are batting really well. So those are the additions that the Tigers wanted to make. They wanted to hit for power. So these guys are going to have to try and get some hits on Danny Duffy tomorrow. And Matt Boyd, like he said, he struggled last year in that midpoint of the season. He said he wasn't as good as he needed to be from some outside factors, but he said he makes no excuses. We think he's going to get back on track. And for the Tigers to get the win, as I mentioned, CJ Cron, we need Miguel Cabrera, Austin Romine, Jonathan Scope, and those guys. And with the help of guys like Christian Stewart, Jamer Candelario, and Victor Reyes, who haven't seen Danny Duffy very often, but when they do, they are pretty good against him. So we need our guys to help Matt Boyd, get some run support, and make sure that they're batting well against a guy like Danny Duffy. And I really do think that the Tigers are going to come out with a W tomorrow. Carly, what I want to ask you is the Tigers are right now 2-2 after 4 games. It's pretty good start for the season for this Tigers team. What have you liked so far about them?
The hitting, I would say, the offense. I know the Tigers are tied for the lead in home runs with 8, which is exciting. I mean, some names you mentioned before, CJ Cron, Jacoby Jones, they're leading the way, but it's encouraging to see that 6 different players have contributed to this total, which is exciting for the team. And plus, there are still a few power hitters who have yet to break through, but it's just a matter of time before Jonathan Scope and someone you mentioned before, Kristen Stewart, add to that total. And I really can't talk about hitters without mentioning, of course, Miguel Cabrera. I want to pull up a picture from last night's game that we have when Miggy went up to bat. Check this picture out from last night's game. We noticed that, I'm waiting for that picture. In the picture, Miguel Cabrera, and we have the infielders pretty much in the outfield. They shifted we had really only 1 guy standing on the dirt. So that's 6, nearly 7 outfielders for Miguel Cabrera. I mean, that just goes to show how much of a power hitter he still is. I mean, he's really contributing to the team. We saw him looking good in spring training and in summer camp. So just waiting to see those big home runs from Miggy. One thing, though, that I do want to see improvement on is definitely the pitching. Matt Boyd and Michael Fulmer both definitely need to find their groove. You know, it's only been a few games, but we need to see everyone healthy. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they can accomplish in this condensed season. I have high hopes.
Carly, we didn't get to see the Miguel Cabrera picture, but like you said, it was really interesting the way that they lined up their infielders. They were all on the grass pretty much. There really was only 1 guy hitting the dirt. So that is something that tonight, when Miguel Cabrera is at the plate, fans, make sure you're paying attention to. I guess you could call it a shift. Art, would you even call that a shift? I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, that was an interesting thing. I mean, virtually everybody was on the outfield grass. All the infielders.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think you can look at it as 2 ways. The cynic in me says that's because Cabrera can't run. I mean, you know, you can play as far back as possible, and you know, and those infielders have great arms. You know, so they you know, and you know, Miggy's slowed down a little bit, although he is lighter. So you know, so maybe it would work into his advantage. But the thing is that the thing that Miguel Cabrera can do, and he's always been able to do, as we know, is hit. But the velocity, the bat speed, that ball comes at you like a BB. I mean, you know, and it is fast. And so you try to give yourself as much room to, you know, let the ball back off. And you kind of want the ball to bounce, too, where you can kind of, you know, judge it and you can field it, and then you can throw him out again, because he doesn't, you know, as he's gotten older, and, you know, trust me, I know this, y'all slow down a little bit. So you know, he's not as fast as he used to be. But that's what I think. You know, his bat speed, the velocity that the ball comes off his bat, you know, you want to give yourselves, you know, some time. And I think the further back you are, you know, it plays into it. You know, you can always see, you know, a lot of times the third baseman's always playing back a little bit because guys are pulling the ball, and you know, and even on first base occasionally, you know, it's a little different position. They have to hold a runner and all that. But you know, that's because these guys, when they get, you know, this is major league hitting. I mean, when they tag a ball, they really tag a ball. And I think that was part of the, I don't know, the Miggy shift, the Miggy velocity, the Mickey lack of speed. I mean, I think that's what Kansas City was really going on. I'm not a big fan. And there's no rule against it, but I don't like baseball where three infielders are on one side of the infield, and there you have it. As you can see it, there they are. Only the first baseman is like on the edge of the grass and the dirt, and everybody else, and that Whit Merrifield, I'm obsessed with him today. That guy is such a great player, but they're all on the grass. And look at where third is. I mean, third baseman, he's what is he? I mean, it's probably my depth perception, but he's like 5-6 feet, it looks like, into the outfield. And, Mondesi, the shortstop, is right there with him. That's because Cabrera can hit the ball, and that thing is going to come like a bullet, either down the line or to them. And, and it gives them an idea, too. Plus, they're, when you're back, too, and if the ball does hit the dirt or hit the infield grass, they have more time to react to it because they're further back. So, I mean, you got to tip your cap to Kansas City for coming up with an alignment like this. But it also is a testament to the type of player and the type of hitter Miguel Cabrera is.
100%. I see both sides. I'm thinking maybe it's just because he's a heavy hitter. You're thinking it's because maybe he's a slow runner. But regardless,
it might be a combination of both. It might be me saying that Miguel Cabrera is slow probably makes me feel better about myself because one thing I used to be a sprinter, believe it or not. Running these days is really a challenge for me.
Oh, I understand completely.
Well, thank you for that, Art. Thank you for breaking it down. Again, guys, you'll have to see how that plays out for the Royals and Miguel Cabrera later in today's game. A big thank you to Motor City Casino Hotel for presenting Bet You Didn't Know. Carly, before we let you go, I know that you have been all over our social media channels. We've got people submitting questions and comments. What do you have for us right now?
All right. Well, we have a post from the Red Wings and from the Tigers. First, on the Red Wings side, a huge congrats to Justin Evelkater. He was nominated for the 2020 King Clancy Memorial Trophy, which is an award presented to the player who best exemplifies leadership qualities on and off the ice and has made a noteworthy humanitarian contribution in his community. Obviously, Abby is a great contender for this. I mean, he's a great guy. I really can't say enough good things about him. Everything he does in the locker room, not just in the locker room, but out in the community. So fingers crossed for him to win. And then now on to the Tigers. Fans, Detroit mascots, and a few Tigers legends took part in the Tigers' longest catch, where they had a baseball going from the Upper Peninsula to Toledo and back to Detroit. I love it. So happy to see a bunch of Tigers fans get together to show support for Tigers or Detroit roots. We had everyone. You saw Ann Arbor, you saw Lansing, you saw Army people getting involved. Look at that. It was a dive catch. I love it. We saw Paz. Look at Willie Horton's on there, Brown Gardenhire. I mean, it was so cool seeing everyone come together and really give the Tigers well wishes for their season. So that's all I have for now, but make sure you're sending in your questions. We can answer them later on in the show. Daniela?
Thank you, Carly. Whoever it was that made that diving catch in the sand, that was pretty impressive. The Tigers should look into that one. I'm not sure exactly who it was, but you might need to be in the lineup tonight. I don't know. We are counting down the days until hockey starts as well, you guys. We're going to have some exhibition games starting this week and later in the show. We're going to talk more baseball. Don't worry. Jason Beck is going to join us, Kyle Funkhauser as well. But like I said, we are counting down the days until hockey. And Jason Woolley joined Art and I last week to talk about the upcoming playoffs. Let's get into Downtown Hockeytown, presented by Labatt Blue Light. Today's guest is former Red Wing and Art and I's great friend, Jason Woolley. Jason, we are so excited to have you joining us. What have you been up to?
All over Netflix, probably like everybody else. Currently watching Breaking Bad. And when we tried to do this last week, I had the Walter White, and now I'm back down to normal. So, probably like everybody else, just staying put, trying to stay safe. Can't wait for hockey to get going. I know I'm sure we'll talk lots about it, but great to be with you guys. I miss you guys. I miss being at the rink, and I can't wait to get going again. I'm not sure when that's going to be.
Lucky for all of us, sports are back. The MLB is underway. NHL is returning with their playoffs in just over a week now. I'm really excited for next Saturday. Jason, when you look at this playoff format and this play-in round that we're going to see some really intriguing matchup, is there anything specifically that you're excited for?
I'm excited. I'm uncertain. I don't know. Like this is unknown territory for all of us. So I can't wait to sit and watch all the games because I really miss watching the hockey. I can't imagine, like being a former player, I can't imagine not playing in front of fans. So I'm curious to see what that looks like and what kind of feedback the players give us over time here. So I'm really, I guess, more curious than anything, Daniela, but really excited to get things going. It's cool.
Jason, I know that they're going to play a series of exhibition games this week, leading up to Saturday, August 1st. The first games, there'll be 5 that day. Saturday, August 2nd, 5 games, and then I think 5 games into the foreseeable future. Although a best 3 out of 5, as you very well know, those series are going to end rather quickly. But I am kind of curious, what kind of level or quality of hockey do you expect to see? Because this is playoff hockey virtually from the moment that puck is dropped.
I think it's going to be, it can't be full swing like it was in February, March. It just can't be. We can't expect that. I don't know whether all the rust will be off in time. I'm hoping it is for their sake. I want it to be the best product for each organization to kind of put out there for the players and for the organizations. For the fans, I just think we're so excited to see the hockey. We're not going to be too judgmental. Having said that, it's going to be interesting to see what rises to the top. Is it going to be the young legs? Is it going to be the experience? I still feel like the goalies are going to make the difference like any other playoff. But I'm just really curious. Like I told Danielle, I can't wait to see the unknown. Like, I don't know what to expect. It's so weird, you know?
Jason, on the other side of things, the Red Wings, among some other teams, are not going to be playing in this 24-team playoff. These teams are going to have a lot of time off before they see the ice again. And I know that there's always some kind of summer workouts or something like that come August. What is this going to look like for them? Because now we're looking at August as the start of the NHL playoffs.
They really have to pace themselves in their training. They're going to, I think what we're really waiting for is the time where we're so schedule based. Like, as a former player and the current players, they know that September 17th was training camp, so they could build their way up to that. From a training standpoint, when to put their foot on the gas, when to take their foot off the gas, let their body rest. You know, they obviously got a lot of rest on the front end with COVID through March and April and May and whatever, and now they're trying to ramp it up again. They just really want to know a date. I think even a month, Daniela. Like if you told them October, then they could start to gauge towards that. But right now, they're just guessing. So it's hard to like put your foot on the gas and really work on certain parts of your game off the ice and on the ice. I've never been through this, but I know you really have to pace yourself. Typically, this is a lot more complicated.
What series are you looking forward to? I really have to say I'm looking forward to a couple. Calgary, Winnipeg, I think is going to be an all-out war. And I really like Chicago, Edmonton. I think that both of those teams have already said that they're chucking defense at the door. It's just going to be all run and gun hockey. So that's going to be fun. And then on the East, I really, really like the Toronto Columbus series because the John Tortorella always seems to get his teams prepared, especially come playoff time.
I don't have any specific series that I'm like can't wait to watch. I just can't wait to watch them all. Like even out of the gate, Carolina Rangers, the Lundqvist twist, and like what's going on. And it's cool for us as we get to watch all these teams come into Detroit. You get to see them live, you get to comment on them and watch them. And I think that's what I'm excited about is like the quality I still think is going to be excellent. These guys are the best in the world at what they do. They're going to be prepared. It's competition. They're going for the cup. So these are sprints. It's going to be interesting to see. It's more of a sprint than it's ever been. With the 3 out of 5s, boom, it's over and off we go again. So what's going to win it? Is it the is the offense going to win or is the defense going to win? It's hard to believe that if you give up 4 goals, you're going to win games. I think you still have to lock down. I think you still have to play unreal defense. I just don't think certain teams are going to be capable of doing it. I don't think Edmonton can play defense. I think they have to run and gun. Chicago is the same way. So I do think these teams have each team has a strength. I think that if they step outside of that, they're in trouble. So I'm looking forward to all of them, to sum it up. But I think that young legs are going to win this. I don't know if the best team's going to win. I just think it's such a sprint that a little bit of luck, staying healthy is huge here. One big injury, and I think you're kaput.
Well, that being said, Jason, I know it's tough to answer, but what team do you like to win it all?
Edmonton scares me because of 97 and 29. They just do. Colorado, I think, is excellent. I think that they got so much speed up front, and they've got more experience over time here. Those young guys have really matured. I'm going to go with, gosh, Danielle, putting me on the spot. Like, you think I should be ready for this, right? I think Colorado. I like Colorado. I really do.
Yeah.
I'm going to take them to win it. I think Boston. I think Boston's tough, but I'm going to take Tampa in the East because everybody's kind of thinking they laid an egg last year. They're going to do it again. I think they're going to learn from last year.
My picks. I think Vegas is going to end up winning it all. I think the difference is going to be Marc-Andre Fleury, believe it or not. And I just think that, it could be his last swan song, so to speak. But I really think, I like Stone, Max Pacioretty. I like the way Vegas plays. I guess I'm rooting for Peter DeBoer too. We go back a long way with him. And I'm just hoping, and I know you're going to appreciate this, Jason. I hope that it's Toronto out of the East and the Leafs blow a 4-goal lead with 3 minutes left in the game 7. And Vegas ends up hoisting the cup. I think that would be a great scenario.
Yeah, that would be a great scenario. I think Toronto's got going to have a lot of trouble with Columbus. I just think Columbus is really playoff ready. I still don't think Toronto is. And Vegas, I don't buy because I think home ice for them is huge, and that doesn't exist.
Well, you know what? And that's a really good point because. Let's be honest, up until very, very recently when they decided to announce the hub cities, which are Toronto and Edmonton, Vegas was a lock. Vegas was a shoo-in. It almost seemed that the league wanted them to go to Vegas. And unfortunately, where I guess our COVID-19 numbers are, it probably wasn't the wisest decision to make. That is a good point. I really didn't think about it like that because you're right. The atmosphere in Vegas and I've been there a few times, and I know, Jason, you have, and Daniela is known as Miss Vegas. Right?
Right? Daniela, mark that down, Daniela. Art said I made a good point. Write that down. Just mark it down.
Right. Really, I mean, that's the first one I can remember in a long time. Maybe the first one ever, but.
Me too. So, I mean, this is a huge day for me.
Really, mark it down.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's always a blast talking to you. I wish that we could talk to you for hours, but we'll definitely have you back on when the NHL is underway and we've got games going on. Again, thanks for joining us, and a big thank you to Labatt Blue Light for presenting Downtown Hockey Town. Labatt Blue Light, refreshing Canadian Pilsner. Visit your local retailer when safe to pick up some Labatt Blue Light. Thanks again to Jason Woolley for joining us for Downtown Hockey Town. We are all really excited for Saturday, and the NHL playoffs will begin. It's going to be a fun-filled day, and we'll have some baseball too. So definitely looking forward to Saturday. You guys, we're going to get back to talking some Tigers baseball with the Brush Street Beat presented by McLaren Healthcare. And our guest for today is writer for MLB.com, Jason Beck. Jason, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thanks for having me on. Great to talk baseball.
Yeah, we've got some real baseball games to talk about, Jason. The Tigers are 4 games in. They're 2-2. What are your biggest takeaways from these first 4 games?
Well, their power numbers are definitely up. It seems to be a more aggressive hitting team. The presence of C.J. Cron and Jonathan Scope makes a difference. There's more experienced run producers there in the middle of the lineup. That middle of the order is more productive. You're starting to see a little progress from some of the other guys to extend that batting order a little bit. I think Jacoby Jones's start is extremely encouraging. This is something we've been looking to see for a few years now. And now it's a matter of trying to get the pitching together. It's a tough time right now with Daniel Norris out and Jordan Zimmerman on the injured list. So, they have to sort together the rotation for now until they get some guys back. But the bullpen so far, last night aside, it's been picking up the slack by and large.
Jason, a couple of Tiger relievers made their, or pitchers, I should say, made their major league debut last night, Bo Burrows and Kyle Funkhauser. I'm not going to read too much into that, but where do you think the bullpen is at? Just because, Gregory Soto was lights out. We know Buck Farmer and Jimenez, what those guys can do, but should we be concerned, I guess is what I'm saying about their bullpen?
I think the back end of the bullpen is looking pretty good right now when you put together Joe Jimenez, who got out of that jam Sunday afternoon, with Buck Farmer, who seems pretty solid in that setup role, and especially Gregory Soto, who's probably been one of the revelations of this first week of the season with 98, 99-mile-an-hour fastballs and a darting slider and that quick delivery that he's adopted. I think that's really encouraging for these guys. The key right now is to build that bridge to get from the starters to that back end. It's a little bit more difficult right now because with the shorter training camp, starters aren't stretched out like they usually are at this time of the year. And so you're having more innings to cover with the relievers. And even with a deeper bullpen in terms of manpower, you're still looking at some untested arms there to kind of bridge that gap. I think we saw that yesterday that, once you had to, once Fulmer's open or starter, whatever you want to call it, was done, you saw the rookies and they learned some lessons here. I think you saw some encouraging stuff. I think especially from Anthony Castro in the 9th inning, but I think you saw also a reminder that major league hitting is just so much different than AAA and vastly different than AA. So no matter how talented the arms you have, just that margin from error is so much smaller. There's always going to be an adjustment period. Like those guys those pitchers especially who are able to make that jump flawlessly are just so rare.
Jason, the Royals have confirmed their starter for tonight is going to be Kyle Zimmer. He'll be taking the mound. Correct me if I'm wrong. We have yet to hear who the Tigers starter will be. What do you expect out of the Tigers bullpen tonight?
I expect a lot more innings. We're kind of looking down the list of guys last night after the game to figure out who might pitch. Tyler Alexander should be available for a few innings. He might be the logical starting candidate looking at this list. Buck Farmer should be lined up to make an appearance. Soto has had some rest, so it's going to be tricky to see how willing Gardy is, depending on the situation, to go three outings in 4 days with Soto at this point. But if they're close, I would expect to see them. So it's there's still guys out there. It's just a matter of kind of bridging those innings together. And this is kind of what you're looking at out of both these teams right now until the till we get to Wednesday and the rotations reset and you see Boyd and Nova there for the final 2 games of the series.
Jason, you bring up a good point. We talked about it actually earlier in the show too. That the Tigers still are kind of a free swinging club. I think they have over 50 strikeouts now, based after last night's game. Yet, wouldn't it behoove them to kind of work the count today with Zimmer and get to that Kansas City bullpen? And I think they're major league hitters; they are capable of it. Or do we just expect the Tigers are who they are? They're going to hit for power. But, they haven't seen a pitch they haven't liked. I mean, it just seems that they are, and I guess I already said it, but they are the pure definition of a free swinging club. I mean, they're up there to hit that baseball, whether they hit it or not. They swing and miss a lot too.
Yeah, I think some of that is a product. I think some of that is a product of the times. For better or worse, we're seeing more strikeouts and more home runs all around baseball, and I think it was kind of inevitable that the Tigers would start to trend in that direction, even though, Ron Gardenhire has emphasized really since late last year that he wants to have an offense that can put the ball in play and test defenses. This is not quite that lineup just yet, but they knew what they were getting into in that regard when you signed C.J. Cron and Jonathan Scope. These are guys who have established track records that they're going to strike out, but when they make contact, they're also going to make pretty hard contact, and they have a shot to get the ball out, on regular occasions. So you live with that at this point. But it's funny how, at least 4 games in, small sample size, but a lot of it has varied with the pitchers. The Tigers looked absolutely, strikeout prone against the Reds starting pitchers, who have some of the best stuff in the majors with those top 3 guys, with Trevor Bauer, Luis Castillo, and Sonny Gray. But then you get to that bullpen, which still has a good amount of hard throwers. Michael Lorenzen was getting the ball up there in triple digits. Mm-hmm. The Tigers had really long at-bats and wore these guys down. That Miguel Cabrera at-bat Sunday against Lorenzen, where he's fouling off fastball 100, 101, 99 miles an hour, that to me was really impressive. And it basically kept the at-bat alive for a walk, and it also gave C.J. Cron a lot more looks at Lorenzen's stuff from the on-deck circle. And Cron remembered what Lorenzen tried to do to him the day before and made adjustments. So, these guys are capable of adjustments. It's just a matter of, they might strike out sometimes on their way to getting there.
Jason, I want to go back to talking about the bullpen for this next question. Again, Carson Fulmer picked up by the Tigers off waivers just a few days ago. What kind of impact do you think he's ultimately going to have on this Tigers team?
It remains to be seen. I think everybody, Tigers included, are trying to see what he has. He was a very versatile arm for the White Sox. He did a lot of roles. He had some really good starts in 2017, and then had some decent appearances out of the bullpen the last couple of years. The key for him, no matter what role the Tigers envision in him, is going to be command and hitting the strike zone. Walks were his main issue the last couple of years, and it really prevented him from finding a full-time role on a White Sox pitching staff that was pretty wide open at times over the last couple of summers. So if he can get that command down, and in that respect, I think last night was encouraging. If he can get that down, whatever velocity he's throwing at, I think he has a chance to make an impact on these guys, probably out of the bullpen, because I think they're deep enough in starting pitching long term to where I don't necessarily think you need to stretch him out, aside from maybe doing some long relief work. But he has a chance to make a presence. He was a top 10 draft pick for a reason. He was voted one of the best Vanderbilt pitchers in this era for a reason, right up there alongside David Price. So it's, the arm is there. The talent is there. It's just, who's going to be the team that gets it out of them? The Tigers think there's something there, and they think Rick Anderson and that, Jeff Pico might be the guys to make the connection.
Speaking of Fulmers, let's go to last night's starter, and Michael Fulmer. And what was your impression? I thought he pitched pretty well. I thought perhaps, and and I'm certainly not a pitching aficionado by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought he kind of ran out of gas a little bit. Maybe the adrenaline was gone. He's finally seeing live action for the first time in 22 months. That maybe at the end he just sort of, crashed a little bit.
Yeah, I thought the first couple innings were a lot more encouraging, obviously, than the third. I thought the reactions he was getting from hitters off the slider, especially in the first inning, was really good. I think he had 3 swings and misses and 6 sliders in that opening inning. It looked like he tired out, and it looked like it affected him more than just velocity, but just overall command. And I think Royals hitters too, they adjusted to lay off that slider and started centering on fastballs. And that really carried for the rest of the evening, I thought. By and large, the Royals hunted fastballs. They're an aggressive team, and they were able to take advantage of that against a young Tigers bullpen. And Gardy mentioned it that one of the things you learn is that you can't challenge a lot of major league hitters with fastballs right in the middle of the plate, because unless you have them completely fooled, they're going to hammer those pitches. That's how they got up to the big leagues.
Jason, one last question before we let you go. Staying with the pitching, I want to ask you about Matt Boyd. He wasn't super happy with his performance in the Tigers opening day, and obviously he's going to get that start again tomorrow against the Royals. What adjustments do you think he's going to make?
Well, I think he's going to try to control that adrenaline and make the adjustment as far as like where his footwork is in relation to the pitching rubber. He mentioned that as a main culprit for his first inning snafu on opening day, where it just seemed like he couldn't find the strike zone. He hit back-to-back batters, which you rarely see from any big league pitchers, but especially a guy like Boyd, one of which to Castellanos drove in a run. He's pretty good at making corrections like that. I would expect we'll see a guy who's more in command. He has a pretty deep knowledge of the Royals lineup, although, it's a little bit different lineup now than it was before with the additions of Michael Franco and Franchi Cordero. So he's going to have to learn those guys. But, I suspect we'll see a much better Boyd, especially in more comfortable surroundings at home. But we'll see. I think the Royals made a statement last night that, this is not your old style Royals lineup. These guys are tough, and there are power hitters up and down that order that you have to respect.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jason. As you guys saw right there, the Tigers are in the middle of a 9-game homestand, so you can catch them tonight again, taking on Kansas City at 7:10. Catch that game on Fox Sports Detroit. Jason, again, thank you, and a big thank you to McLaren Healthcare for presenting Brush Street Beat right here on the Word on Woodward. So a lot to look forward to, you guys. A lot of Tigers baseball coming up. We will definitely be having Jason join us again, so that way we can talk about the next games and like I said, in the middle of a 9-game homestand. So big opportunity here for the Tigers to get ahead in the standings. Now, you guys, we're going to move ahead to the headliner presented by Miller Lite. And today's headliner is Kyle Funkhauser, who made his MLB debut last night, and Art caught up with him right before that game.
Thank you, Daniela. It is time for the headliner presented by Miller Lite. Let's bring in Tiger pitcher Kyle Funkhauser. Kyle, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
I'm kind of curious. Now, I don't know if you're a Curb Your Enthusiasm fan or not, but your last name is Funkhauser, and there's a real famous character named Funkhauser, Marty Funkhauser, in that. Do you hear that a lot, or is that part of when people come up to you? Do they say anything about your last name?
Yeah, I've gotten that reference a few times, kind of going back to the college days. I was gonna say I'm not a watcher, haven't watched it. I'm familiar with the reference now because I did a little research, but no, I'm not a watcher. I don't watch the show, but yeah.
Let's talk about this opportunity you have with the Tigers. I know during spring training and then in summer training here, you were kind of pitching for a spot on this roster. What do you think turned it around? What turned your game around?
Oh, really? Going home, after spring training in March, whenever that was, March 15th or something, whenever that exact date was. Obviously came into spring training, ready, pretty hungry. Obviously being added to the 40 man is kind of a different game. Like you said, you're kind of trying out for the team at that point. And had some ups and downs in spring training. And then, really went home and kind of tried to, not reinvent myself. If anything, go back in time and try to, be loose and have some fun and watch some video from kind of when I had a lot of success, continual success, in college and early in my pro career. Tried to, do some side-by-sides and compare and contrast and talking with some of the pitching coaches and, like I said, Juan Nieves, Dan Hubbs, some of those guys really broke down and we kind of eventually got to the point that we think my arm action is too long. Over time, it had gotten longer and just kind of created some drag in my mechanics, which, had a little bit of a shoulder issue last year and kind of think all of that was related, kind of the lack of consistency, maybe a little bit the lack of health, all kind of stemmed from that reason where my arm was getting too long and causing drag.
It's interesting. I saw a Zoom press conference of you. I think it was after one of the inter squad games where I thought it was interesting. You did, spring training might not have been the greatest experience for you. So you go home and you got away from baseball. If I remember correctly, you're playing board games with your roommates and your girlfriend. And, can you talk about how maybe getting away from something in the long run actually helps you?
Yeah. Obviously, baseball is a pretty mental game. And, in any aspect of life, if you get inside your head too much, you think about stuff too much, a lot of times you start pressing, start overthinking, overanalyzing every little detail. So yeah, getting away from the game, obviously, as kind of coronavirus was ramping up and starting to affect, large areas at a large capacity, kind of knew that baseball was going to be, gone for a month or two, a couple months it had seemed at the minimum. So yeah, just got home and took a couple weeks to kind of reset and really just kind of adhere to the coronavirus rules and, go to the grocery store and kind of just be a normal guy for a couple weeks. Like I said, played a lot of cards, just spent a lot of time inside, just trying to, like you said, get away, kind of clear my mind. And then, when I started to get back into weighted balls and stuff, that was really when I started to kind of put old video and new video and kind of put it all together and kind of, again, kind of vamp my arm action slowly, one day at a time. And then, as a week went by, 2 weeks, it started to feel a little bit cleaner, a little bit quicker. And then eventually being able to throw with a partner and then long toss and getting back on the mound as baseball talks were starting to get back into it. Spring training might be, next couple weeks, stuff like that. Started to throw bullpens and kind of get ready. And like I said, it just everything felt a little bit cleaner. I was, loading better, clearing my backside, getting through to my front side, just way cleaner. And it kind of, I guess directly impacted when I came to summer camp. I threw a bullpen and it was like really good. And Andy was like, Rick Anderson was like, that's like maybe the best I've ever seen you in a bullpen, and then a couple of days later I threw a live BP and that went really well. And then, like I said, got some game action and that went well and was just trying to make little adjustments here, there, tweak a little bit with, the slider and stuff like that. But at that point it was like the big changes were kind of past.
So when did you notice the change? Was it that first bullpen session when you got up here to summer camp that, hey, it's going to start clicking for me, that break, whatever, everything now seems to be coming to fruition?
I felt it a little bit when I was at home, when I was long tossing and stuff. Like I said, it just kind of felt a little different, like a little cleaner, a little smoother. but yeah, obviously when I was at home throwing, even getting off the mound, it's different. Like not being here in Detroit and the coaches and everything. So obviously you get kind of that adrenaline, rush basically. So in that first bullpen, I felt like the ball was really coming out of my hand well, and I could kind of feel it then. And obviously feeling something and you thinking something is good doesn't always translate, but getting kind of immediate feedback from the catcher and Rick and Pico, like they're like, wow, that was really good, and it seemed like the ball, you had some zip on your ball, and obviously I wasn't at home with a radar gun and stuff, and so that was kind of like, again, really reassuring. Like I said, I felt really good, but it was good to get some good results and have the coaches kind of, again, notice, yeah, wow, he does look kind of different, and that does seem like a little bit sharper. And so, yeah, that kind of immediate feedback from the coaches was kind of an initial really strong boost of confidence and kind of readiness to then start face hitters.
What's that feeling like on a personal level, though, for you? I mean, you're getting positive feedback, and the Tigers are. If anybody knows anything about the Detroit Tigers, it's that they seem to have a bunch of pitching prospects. There's competition all over the place. I would imagine that jolt of confidence has really boosted, your level of play and maybe your mental level as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I said, when I was at home, working kind of by myself out in the, for a couple of weeks, I was throwing weighted balls against a brick wall in an alley because that's all I had, really. So obviously, baseball is a great game, but kind of getting taken away, like kind of in a flash in spring training. Obviously, again, made some adjustments, but also really missed the game and was just kind of coming back out here trying to have some fun. But yeah, it's having success in the past and then, having failures and then kind of up and down, the last kind of year and a half, obviously, sucked and like I said, had some struggles, but kind of hitting the reset button, it seemed like, yeah, mentally and physically getting away from the game when we really should have been playing. And I think that was like kind of the most, I guess, relaxing part of it. It was obviously very weird in Chicago, being in my apartment in Chicago and in May at home. I hadn't done that since high school. Obviously being away at college for 4 years and then immediately signing and then spring training. And I hadn't been in Chicago in May in years. So it was obviously different, but yeah, just found some things and came out here and was just like, ready to have some fun and ready to play.
Your approach when you're on the bump. I mean, I know the catcher's giving you a signal. It's your game. You can throw whatever pitch you want. Is it more of isn't that just one-on-one mental game? Not that you're sitting there staring down the hitter, but I would guess maybe the real competitive nature and what's really fun about what you do being a major league pitcher is that one-on-one battle that you're having with each and every hitter. I guess that adrenaline rush, it probably doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, I mean, baseball is a very individualized team game. Obviously, it's a team game, but just about everything is one-on-one. Pitcher versus hitter, and then, even running the base, you hit a ball in the gap, then it becomes outfielder versus base runner. It's very individualized. But yeah, I mean, obviously we study other hitters, other teams. But yeah, another thing is game flow. I mean, your best pitch might not be the same every day. Every time you go out there, your best pitch is your slider. Well, sometimes you're not going to have much of a feel for a slider. So you're going to have to make an adjustment, hitter to hitter or outing to outing. So yeah, I think I answered your question. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, it's just, I mean, like I said, you're kind of going to battle with every hitter and, you just try to, like you said, get your adrenaline and kind of try to hone that and, get the guy out and, on to the next guy.
You started on the road, obviously a good series in Cincinnati, taking 2 out of 3. Now a 4-game series. You're in the midst of a 4-game series with Kansas City. Can you describe the mindset of this team in a 60-game schedule? I would imagine if I were a Detroit Tiger, and I'm a lifelong Tiger fan here, I would say, why not the Tigers? Why not us? anything can happen in this schedule.
Yeah, I mean, obviously only playing the Central, the division opponents 10 games, and then the NL 5 games each. Adds a little bit of obviously we're not going to play every team, so we're going to get pretty familiar with certain teams. But yeah, it's like you said, it's a sprint. Like you said, why not us? I mean, it was a little bit. Obviously, I had never had a opening day in the major leagues before, but things felt a little weird, Friday and even into Saturday. But obviously, after yesterday's win, kind of a sigh of relief almost. It was very fun after post game in the clubhouse. Very fun on the plane. Guys were loose, joking around and having a good time. And it really seemed like yesterday was kind of not a turning point, but the season started to feel real. As of like I said, post game yesterday. Obviously, the first couple of games mattered and guys played well and we did some good things. But yesterday was kind of that like first initial kind of loosening up of the regular season, and like you said, why not us? We just beat a good team 2 out of 3. We're feeling pretty good, and headed back home and ready to play. Like you said, not necessarily in front of a home crowd, but ready to play at home. Like you said, with the white jerseys and the Old English D. The guys are ready.
This is. I mean, your buddies. You're in competition. The Tigers have a lot of pitching prospects. But, what kind of dynamic is it among you guys? Because you're friends, yet you're competing against one another. Are there certain guys that you gravitate to? Are you and Bo Burrows good buddies, or Matt Manning, or you talk to Casey Mize? I mean, how is that dynamic?
Yeah, no, it's a great dynamic, really. Last year, obviously that Erie team was really stacked. Casey Mize, Matt Manning, Anthony Castro, who's back with us today. Tarek Skubal came on really late, really strong. It's obviously there's a lot of talent around, a lot of different personalities, but it seems like for the most part all the guys are kind of meshing, watching each other's bullpens, really trying to learn, and just obviously competition brings out the best in everyone, whether it's opposing competition or friendly competition. Competition's a great thing. Some guys rise up to it, and some guys don't. And but just to be able to learn and see all the different individualized players kind of come together, it's great. Yeah, me and Bo have a great relationship. Obviously, we've played together for a couple of years now, and then getting a chance to play, in the major leagues together. We're obviously the rookies, the day one guys. We kind of try to stick together a little bit, and we're familiar. But the veterans have done a great job of, accepting, and kind of showing us the ropes and helping us out. And even going back to the spring, like I said, the veterans were doing a great job, and it flowed right into summer camp, and then right into the season. So it's been a great dynamic, and honestly, like I said, a great experience for some of the younger guys. And I wouldn't say I'm necessarily an older guy, but 26 now, compared to the Mannings and the Mizes, 21, 22, 23, to kind of learn from the young guys a little bit, in terms of Casey's very analytical. He's really pitch design, TrackMan type stuff, and I definitely learned some things from him doing that. So yeah, we have, like I said, we have a pretty great relationship. Everybody, really. I like all the guys.
All right, major league debut. What's it going to mean to you when you step on the bump for the first time in the Old English D and you're in the major leagues?
It's going to be a special moment. Obviously, it's going to be a little different, like I said, with the whole coronavirus thing and no fans and no family. Usually, guys debut, their family's there. So that'll be a little different, but just a dream come true. A lot of hard work and dedication, with myself and family and coaches, all kind of, cashed in basically. Like I said, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be special, and I'm excited and ready for it.
Well, we're excited to see you in the Old English D and perform for the Tigers. Kyle Funkhauser, thanks a lot for joining us here on the Headliner today. Best of luck. Really happy for Kyle Funkhauser. Looking forward to him in a Tiger uniform, as I said. Back to you, Daniela. This is the headliner, brought to you by Miller Lite. It's the original light beer. It tastes great. It's only 96 calories, and it's available for delivery.
Thank you, Art. Great to hear from Kyle. He seems like a really confident guy. Excited to see what his future holds with the Tigers organization. Now, you guys, we are going to get into Let's Socialize, presented by AAA. And for Let's Socialize, we've got to bring in Carly Johnston, who has been all over our social media channels taking your questions. So, Carly, I'm really excited to see what you have for us today.
We have some pretty good questions. First one, I'm going to have Art answer. One of our fans asked, which Red Wings players would you protect from the NHL expansion draft? Really good question, with the Seattle Kraken revealing their team name and logo.
Well, I would think right now that you have to look at, obviously Dylan's protected, the BT Express, Anthony Mantha's protected, Bertuzzi's protected, Michael Rasmussen would be protected. And then I think when you look at defensively, Philip Hronek would be protected. I am under the impression Danny DeKeyser is going to be protected. I think, with Danny playing all, missing all but 8 games last year, you could see exactly how important, he is. I think a lot of these guys are exempt. And, you're asking me which players I would for sure protect, depending on what the rules are and what their service time is. Like a guy like Veleno doesn't have to be protected. I don't think Philip Zadina has to be protected, just because they haven't played enough in the NHL right now. Now, if Zadina has to be protected, obviously he's going to be protected. I look at certain defensively. Gus Lindstrom, maybe Madison Bowie, maybe he won't be. I mean, it all depends. The thing that's good about that is that we're going to have another year before the Red Wings have to make that decision. And based on what Vegas was able to do and how they were able to maneuver and make trades, and GMs were calling up George McPhee, the Vegas general manager, saying, and I'll use you two as an example. Hey, we really like Carly Johnston, but we can't protect her because we have some veteran players that we need to protect. But if we make a trade, if you don't take her, we'll trade you like Daniela Bruce, who we also like, but not as much as Carly. And that's what people always think whenever we do, but you didn't know, and I'm in charge of it, which isn't true. I love you both like daughters. But with that said, so what happens is that Daniela goes to Vegas and becomes a great, a great scorer and all that, and then Vegas acquires picks and all that. What Vegas was able to do, I guess my point, I know I'm running off on a tangent, with the expansion draft, Seattle's not going to be able to do. Kraken fans are going to be expecting that their team's going to make the Stanley Cup final their first year, and it's not going to happen. I mean, that is a textbook of George McPhee should write a book about how to do an expansion draft. With that said, I think that Steve's going to, Steve is going to, guys like Justin Abdicator, obviously Franz Nielsen, some of the veterans on this team and where their contracts are at, he's going to leave them unprotected because he wants that team maybe take their contract. That's not going to happen. Remember, when the Red Wings did this with Vegas, Peter Mrazek, who's now, playing pretty well for Carolina, was left unprotected. Everyone thought, well, that would be the guy that they're going to grab, even though Marc-Andre Fleury was a no-brainer for sure. But, okay, so, you got Mrazek and Marc-Andre Fleury in net. Vegas is going to be tough. Who did they end up taking? Thomas Nosek, who's been in their lineup ever since as a fourth-line forward, who I know the Red Wings really wanted. I mean, they didn't expect to lose him. I mean, they knew they could, and boom, they lose Nosek, and he's played as many games practically as Vegas has played as a team. So, but I just think it's pretty obvious who they're going to take. They're going to take the 3 big guys, their number 1 line, and Robbie Fabre too. I think they're going to sign him, so Robbie Fabre will be protected too. But you know what?
The young guy.
The way that draft is, though. Right. But the way the expansion draft is, it almost forces you to unprotect a good player. You know, you can take like 6 forwards and 4 defensemen and a goalie, or then you can take like, 5 defensemen if you want, then 4 forwards. So you've got to leave something out there. But when you're paying $650 million or whatever it is to join the league, you better give them at least some guys. You know what I mean? You're going to have to give them some sort of competitive balance. But it'll be interesting. Yeah, nobody. God, this is going to sound bad, and I apologize to the Red Wing players. Nobody of real significance. I don't think they're going to lose in the expansion draft.
All right, you don't like to sugarcoat things. It's hard. Right. Next question is for Daniela. This is an interesting question I liked. What is one thing you'd always have to keep stocked in your hockey bag?
Well, first of all, Art, I want to say you just gave the longest answer that is so long that I almost forgot that you paid at me in that one. Okay. Anyway, we'll get to my every time, never fails. So I would keep my Art Wagner voodoo doll in the hockey bag, and also when I was a soccer player in my day, the one thing that I always had a ton of in my soccer bag was pre-wrap. Now that's the stuff that goes, if you had to tape your ankle, pre-wrap is what you would put on first, for those of you that don't know. But I didn't use it for that purpose. I used it to make headbands because my headbands would always break. So I would take pre-wrap, roll it up, make headbands, and put them on. And if it would break in the middle of the game, I would go grab another piece and put it back on. It was kind of like my safety net there. Oh, you have pre-wrap?
Daniela, as a peace offering, Double D got his hot dog maker last week. I am going to send you this pre-wrap so you can have that.
I want
and it's red. It's red.
And in the olive branch. I love it.
Why do I have pre-wrap? Because I'm very athletic.
Did you make headbands the matching joker?
Only when I had I would sometimes keep one because I had one in my hair and then one would stay on my neck for when that one inevitably broke. Then I would just
This is used pre-wrap. I'll send this to you too. Red and white, Red Wing colors.
No,
you're like the
red. It hasn't been used.
You said it was you.
Yeah, you literally just said this is used pre-wrap.
I mean, it's not a full roll. I mean, hey, I'm not Pavel Datsyuk. I don't use the same tape over and over. I mean, which was kind of odd, but I guess that must have been his superstition.
All right, moving on to question number 3. This is for both of you guys. Art, we'll start with you first. And I know we kind of talked about this before. We talked about what would be your goal song, but we had a fan ask, what would your walkout song be if you were on the Tigers? So Art, we'll start with you and then we'll head on over to Daniela.
Well, I'm a big Taylor Swift fan, and I guess her new album is absolutely brilliant. It just dropped a couple days ago. But I always forget. I think it's called, is it Shake It Off? I love that thing. Yeah. Haters are going to hate. I just love that tune. And I think that would probably be the my tune, my walk-up song. There's also another one that was written, I believe, in 1785 by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. And I'm completely serious about this. It's called The Little Night Music. It's like a top 40 of classical hits. Everyone's heard it. Most people probably don't even know it's it's like a masterpiece. But it's that one that goes dun 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 dun. I mean, it's a real jam. I mean, it really kicks in there. And I think maybe to throw off the stadium. And hey, it really rocks for being written in 1783 or whatever. I think that would really kind of throw the picture off and all that. But it jams. A nice, good classical piece. So either Taylor or Mozart, and you can't go wrong, because isn't Taylor Swift today's modern day Mozart? I believe she is.
I don't know if I'd agree with you there, but I guess. Danielle, how about you?
All right. So I'm going to give you 2 songs as well because I feel like I would rotate between these 2. And for those of you that don't know this, Art and Carly both know, I'm a huge Justin Bieber fan, always have been since the first day, the YouTube days for Justin Bieber, Kid Roll, always been a big fan. So I would definitely have to do Despacito. That would be one of them. And then obviously the Justin Bieber version, because there's 2 versions of that song. It wasn't originally a JB song, but I would use the Justin Bieber version. And the second one would be Grizz, who you guys also know that I love Grizz. It would be Can't Hold Me Down, which Grizz is kind of an electronic guy, but he also plays a ton of instruments. Art, don't shake your head. Grizz is good. You've never even heard it.
It's a good song. It's one of my favorite Red Wings hypes of the season that you edited was that song. I like that song.
Yeah, Eric read the starting lineup for the Red Wings over the same Grizz song. That would be My Walk Up. So
Yeah, love
definitely
it.
a hype song.
Good answer.
And you didn't even know it.
I think I guessed that. Arts came out of left field. Art, I thought you were a Post Malone fan. You don't want to walk out to a Post Malone song?
I was about to say that because you both know there's 3 things that musically that I can't stand. Bon Jovi should not be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Totally blow. I know the ladies love Bon Jovi. Journey with Waylon Steve Perry. Should have been done. I mean, give me a break. And Post Malone. I don't get Post Malone at all. And I know the Red Wings are really into it. Michael Rasmussen and I have had this discussion a lot. I mean, all the Grand Rapids Griffins went and saw Post Malone, Joe Valeno, all of them, They all went and saw Post Malone at Van Andel Arena. It was a big team outing, and they were all like into it and all that kind of stuff. And so I listened to Post Malone, and I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking to myself, my God, this is awful. This is absolutely awful. What are you kids listening to today?
Not Mozart. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's not Mozart, but it's not awful.
Mozart's spinning in his grave if he had to listen to Post Malone. Trust me.
Yeah, Taylor Swift is the new age Mozart. All right.
Yeah,
well, my song, I think my walk-up song would be Stop by the Peppers. Okay,
what was that, Carly? I know you're a Taylor Swift fan.
Remember when I tried telling you guys what my number would be on my baseball jersey? It's happening again.
Sorry about that.
What's your walk-up song? What's your walk-up song, Carly?
My walkout song would be "Can't Stop" by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Oh my goodness! I don't know. I have another or pop song I would choose as well, but I can't really think of one at this moment. But I just picture coming out. It's a sunny day. Everyone, like, who doesn't know that song? Who doesn't love the Red Hot Chili Peppers? It's my favorite band, so "Can't Stop" would be my song. But now that we all have our walkout songs, and we will hopefully get to it, maybe we can do a walkout song when we all get at the ballpark together when COVID starts to settle down. But last but not least, we have our social poll for the day that we talked about earlier for Larkin's best goal. Okay, so we wanted to know what you guys would choose. Would it be his first NHL goal or his 100th career goal? And the winner is, drum roll please, as we can see, the first career goal. I agree. I voted for his first career goal because, 100th career goal, that's an amazing accomplishment. That to me, I'm not an NHL player, but I feel like for any NHL player, that goal is like just one of those the best memories that you have in your life, as I said over that whole sentence. Every time I've asked a player, what is your favorite goal? They usually always say their first NHL goal. It's good to get under your belt, to finally get off your chest, to say you scored your first goal. I would say, obviously, on top of that, probably a Stanley Cup Finals goal would be better than that, but I do think that's the best play, or that's the best goal that a player can score.
I agree with you, Carly. The fans did too. But guys, I forgot about this when we were talking about our walk-up songs. Miguel Cabrera, what was it called? Miggy El Bate? That has to be someone's walk-up song.
Yes. Oh my gosh, how could I forget? That was the song of the summer. Summer hit.
It was. Art, did you forget about it? You're quiet.
No, well, I remember that tune. And I think we, based on that little snippet, and I thought it was a good effort by Miguel, but I think we know why he is a Hall of Fame baseball player. So, I mean, would I use that as my walk-up song? Probably not, but I would listen to it if, well, let's be honest. We already know that I'm a great fielder. I mean, I can catch the ball, I can go up, and scale the wall and pick it up. So if my team needed a big hit, I would listen to Miggy's song. I think that would get me psyched up because he is a premier hitter.
Art, I also have another little of breaking news for you. The Tigers just named their starting pitcher for tonight, you guys. It is Ronnie Garcia will be starting on the mound for the Tigers. Art, any thoughts about that one?
You know what? I'm going to tell you right now, and you're not going to believe me, but when we had Jason Beck on and I was trying to figure it out, I was going to say it's going to be one of the Garcias, either Ronnie Garcia, who's a Rule 5 guy, or it's going to be Brian Garcia. I said it's going to be one of the Garcias, just, natural process of everybody who's pitched. I'm not surprised it's Ronnie Garcia. I had it. That's who I thought it would be. And I think he's going to pitch well. I think, we saw him in some preseason games, or the inter-squad games, I guess they were. And, Rule 5 guy, he's on this team all year. So hopefully he can give them a good, strong 3 innings. And if he can get out of those innings rather quickly, maybe he goes for a 4th. And then we'll start seeing, the bullpen.
Love it. That'll be a good matchup.
Yeah, it will be, you guys. Again, the Tigers take the field tonight. You can catch the game on Fox Sports Detroit. Carly, thank you so much for everything today. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. See you guys.
And a big thank you to AAA for presenting Let's Socialize. AAA says thank you with free roadside assistance for first responders and healthcare workers fighting to defeat COVID-19. You protect us by going to work every day. Let AAA protect you on the way there and back. All right, Art. So the Tigers will be taking the field at 7:10 tonight. We can catch that game on Fox Sports Detroit or 97.1 The Ticket, of course. If you listen to 97.1 and you listen to Dan Dickerson, no, he is eating a hot dog for sure, or he has eaten a hot dog before the game using Art's hot dog maker. That's a step. I'm so happy about it, Art. I'm so glad. I can't wait to have Double D on and ask him about those hot dogs.
Well, if you play your cards right, Daniela, I actually and I haven't even expensed the Red Wings yet. I actually paid for this hot dog maker. It's brand new. I had it sent to Dan's house. My hot dog maker, I'm never going to give this baby up. But Dan has the same exact one. He has sent me pictures of it. And, so I'll tell you, Danielle, you never know. Maybe when I send your wrap over, you might have a hot dog maker in there too.
Yes, I'm rolling my eyes at you.
Yeah, I know. I saw that, but but seriously. Yeah. But Double D, I'm glad he's enjoying the hot dog maker. The thing, you would think that it doesn't work well. You would think, oh yeah, well, kind of a blow off thing. That baby is excellent, and toast buns too. If you like your buns toasted, and who doesn't like toasted buns?
Toasted buns.
That'll. Well, yeah, if you have more than one, Look on the picture. You have ketchup and mustard and a hot dog, and then there's buns here. So, the toasted buns, it's just a great thing. It's really a great invention. That's what makes America great. Isn't a hot dog American invention too? It is. I think it's as Americana as you get. Yeah. I don't think any other culture would, just take, remnants of an animal and kind of throw it in there and make it a tasty treat. So,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. With that being you guys again. The Tigers will be on the field tonight taking on the Kansas City Royals. First pitch is scheduled to go out at 7:10, and you can catch it on Fox Sports Detroit or 97.1 The Ticket. A long week of home games for the Tigers, so make sure you are tuning in all week long, and make sure you're tuning into the Word on Woodward every Tuesday and Thursday. We will have everything Tigers for you, and on the next Word on Woodward presented by Rehmann, which will be this Thursday, we're going to have interviews with senior content producer for the Detroit Red Wings, Dana Wakiji, Fox Sports Detroit's Johnny Kane, and a lot more. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Art, go make yourself a hot dog, and we will see you guys.
Thank you.
Thursday.